Hey everybody, hey, welcome back to another Sunday live stream here. I am excited to kind of talk about what's happening in the real estate market as usual. You know how I always like to just check my phone to make sure I'm live. All right, I am live. And I also see David. Hey, what's going on, David? Thanks for coming over and tuning in on this Sunday evening. I appreciate your time. Um, and so, yeah, if you guys don't know, we are talking about this housing market and the prices kind of declining, softening, and it always depends on the area that you're in. And so we're going to pull up some articles, have some conversation around this. Let me know if you're seeing a decline or prices dropping in your area and how much they might be dropping. Also, let me know if you can hear me. I don't know if you can hear me or not. If you can, if you are joining us live tonight, please join in the chat, have a conversation. That's the purpose of doing these lives on Sunday, so we can all converse together in the chat in regards to the housing market. And then also don't be shy to tell us where you're tuning in from. How did you get over to the channel? Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel as well if you're new over here. And if you are a returning visitor to the channel, please don't forget to like it, hit that notification bell. And again, let me know if you guys can hear me. I don't know if I'm too close, too far. I need to get a mic one day. David said loud and clear. Okay, good. Hey, Dad. Hey, he's here. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. And so, like I was saying, wait, before we start too, I'm not monetized yet on YouTube. However, thanks to David for giving some super chats, I was able to get half monetized as far as, being able to get super chats. And YouTube sent me a package in the mail. So YouTube sent me a package. I'll open it up real quick because I don't want to take too much of your time. And it's basically like a YouTube clapper. So I don't know if David or anybody else who is on YouTube, if you guys got one of these, but it's like a YouTube, like a clapper, like if you're making movies or you're making anything on. So I guess in the regards to, making movies and videos on YouTube, you have like action, like 1, 2, 3, clap, action. But anyway, don't want to spend too much time on that because I know you guys didn't come over to the channel to talk about that. But I thought that was pretty cool. I got it in the mail about 2 days ago, so figured I would share with you guys on the live real quick. Okay, so yeah, let's talk about these prices. Talk about if you are a seller in this market, pricing your house correctly. If you are a buyer in this market, how you should be doing your research, being very due diligent in regards to making sure you're not overpaying. Of course, you won't know totally where the market will fall to in regards to the coming year per se, coming years, but you want to be more cautious as far as where you kind of buy at. It's okay to, if someone listed a house for, let's say, 220 and you want to put an offer in for 210. It's okay. I know some agents probably might say, oh, don't say that. But I'm talking to a lot of agents going to open houses, going to tour houses just to see what's happening in my market. And a lot of these agents are like, I'm not getting no showing requests. I'm not getting no showings at all. They're having open houses, might not be as many people coming to the open houses. And then they're just hoping, that someone would just put an offer in. So they're like, hey, just every time I talk to an agent, they're like, just put an offer in, So even if it's under asking, just put an offer in. You don't know what the seller might accept. So David said, I thought you had a mic. It sounds good. Okay. Yeah, I don't have a mic. I got my computer mic, so I appreciate it. Thank you. He said, very cool. Congratulations. Thank you. No, I appreciate you guys. David, I appreciate you. Of course, my dad and everybody else who tunes into these lives, but also not even the lives. They just go and view the videos on the channel. I'm not, fully monetized yet on YouTube, but one day I will be. And I appreciate you guys being able to, help and assist me to that stage in my YouTube journey. We are seeing the market slow. Days on market is increasing. Okay, so you guys are seeing it too over in Nebraska. So yeah, so I'm telling people, like I said, as far as what agents are telling me, they're just like, the market is slowing. Buyers are coming to the reality where they're like, I don't want to pay these high prices for homes. And then also the uncertainty. What I'm hearing a lot from people, and I totally understand the uncertainty. You have the tariffs kind of one moment they're in, next moment they're paused, next moment they're in. Then you have different things kind of happening in regards to that. Then the uncertainty of people losing their jobs. As you guys know, certain professions have been laying people off in regards to the jobs. Certain jobs actually might have closed. I know a couple friends who lost their job due to the job kind of shrinking, or some of the jobs actually went bankrupt and went belly up and they closed down. And so my friends had to then shift to another job, taking some time. I had one friend that's taken about a year or two to try to get another job. So the economy is doing a number, and that's causing uncertainty, and that's causing the housing market to kind of slow even more and more. And at this point, in order for somebody who might be trying to sell their house, it's best to price your house according to the market and price it right. And sometimes it's not always best to overprice your house in this market. And you get some people who might take on that overpriced stuff. And again, because real estate is local to where you're at and where you're currently living per se. However, look at what the trend is doing in your market, see how prices are shifting, see what's going on, because you don't want to overprice your house. Then when you reduce it and all the other houses around you, I think we talked about this last time, all the other houses around you are reducing their price, and now you're kind of chasing that price on the market to make sure you find the price in which a buyer would have paid for your home at if you would have priced it correctly. So it says 2025 monthly housing market trends report, and this is off of realtor.com by Jake Krimmel. It says the inventory of homes for sale rose 24.8% year over year, marking the 21st consecutive month of inventory growth and the third consecutive month where over 1 million active listings. And it says July 2025 inventory hit a new post-pandemic high, but remains 13.4% below pre-pandemic levels. So the inventory is starting to climb up to those pre-pandemic levels. And again, it might already be at that pre-pandemic level, depending on where you live at, what state you live in, what county you live in, what city per se you live in. You might already see those levels either at that pre-pandemic level or maybe above that pre-pandemic level, because remember, all these reports are gathered information nationally. So every market is different. So if you are going to have this conversation, you always want to reach out to a professional in your area. And if you need help to do so, just let me know and I can connect you as well. It says the total number of unsold homes, including those under contract, was up 16.9% compared with last year. So unsold, so that means that they're not active. They're active on the market. They have not been sold, and it's up 16.9%, including the under contract homes. So they're counting that under contract in a sense of where they're not sure if those homes will close. So we don't know if a home closes until we get to that closing table and it says closed. So they're counting that in the data as well. Newly listed homes, pending home sales, homes under contract decreased 3% year over year. So they're saying it's less pending under contract homes than it was last year. Newly listed homes grew 7.3% year over year, but declined for the third straight month. So again, newly listed homes went up. So more homes entered the market. However, but declined for the third straight month. So I'm guessing when they said the decline, and I could be wrong, I could be interpreting this wrong, meaning that it might have grew, but then they might have either one set active or they might have two kind of withdrew them, but I might be interpreting that wrong. Let me know how you guys might be interpreting that. Homes spent a median of 58 days on the market, 5 more than last month and 7 more than a year ago. The national median list price for homes was $439,450, up 0.5% since last year. And again, I tell people when it comes to the national median list price for homes, this is the median price, right? So that means that this is numbers meeting in the middle as far as when they're taking everything from ultra high luxury homes all the way down to the entry level home that might be, let's say, depending on what state you're in, maybe you still have some homes that's like $150,000 to kind of enter into the market. However, nationally across the country, they're seeing in median wise that the homes are around this 439,000-ish. So they're saying it's up. However, again, if everybody is purchasing or new construction builders are building homes at $500,000, $600,000, $700,000, your median list price will go up. So that does not mean that prices are not declining, and it does not mean that people are not are purchasing these. Doesn't mean that there's not homes that are sitting longer and different things like that. However, it's just saying medium wise across the nation. So, and I can attest to this because a lot of these new construction homes are ridiculous. Like right around the corner from me, I have a new construction development building. Toll Brothers, they're building town story houses and single family houses starting at like $600 something thousand, then $800,000, 600 something thousand for the townhouses, 800 something thousand for like single family, and then right down the street from me, they're also building $700,000 row homes for Triton Homes. So I can attest to the medium list price might be up. However, does not mean people are slow down. Doesn't mean people are purchasing these homes at a rapid pace, I should say, per se. Hey, what's going on, Corey West, sorry. Clark, so good to see you. How have you been? I have been good. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate you taking the time out your night to come on and chat with us over here. I have been pretty good, as you can see. Well, I don't know if you could tell. I'm kind of losing my voice a little bit, but I've been trying to hold in there, but I appreciate it. Thank you for coming in tonight and talking with us. Let me know your thoughts around the housing market. I know you have been looking, in regards to the housing market as well. So we're just kind of talking about this whole, at this point, sellers need to price their houses right. And also, are we in kind of this housing bubble, or is it bursting, right? Are we starting to see it kind of burst? So it says price cuts were reported 20.6% of listings, down slightly since June, and representing the first monthly fall in price cuts in 2025. So sellers are cutting their prices because they have to be mindful. If you want your house sold, you have to cut your prices. And we'll get into a conversation in regards to sellers that I've talked to, agents that I've talked to, what you guys are seeing, any conversations you had, please put it in the chat, and let's just have a wonderful conversation over here on this Sunday. It says, according to Realtor.com housing data, the U.S. housing market continued its slow and steady rebalancing in July, offering buyers more choices as active listings rose for the 21st straight month. However, inventory growth is showing early signs of slowing, and new listings, while greater than last year, declined month over month for the third time in a row. Homes are now taking a full week longer to sell than last July, pushing national median time on the market above pre-pandemic norms for the first time since 2020. It says large regional divides remain a defining feature of today's market. The South and the West continue to see the greatest inventory gains and the sharpest market slowdowns. With more time on the market and more frequent price cuts, the Northeast and Midwest remain relatively tighter by comparison, but they are also gradually moving toward more buyer-friendly conditions in the recent years. So if you guys don't know, all these reports, they of course they're targeting in on the south part of the United States of America, the west part of the United States of America, and now the Midwest is kind of slowly seeing the reaction kind of happening, and the Northeast is still hanging in there, but they're starting to see a little bit stuff happening as far as maybe their houses are sitting longer on the market. They might not be adjusting the price just yet in the Northeast, but their houses are sitting longer. So that means I would think that buyers are now coming to the senses of like, should I buy this? What's happening? Uncertainty, tariffs, jobs. I don't know. I'm going to wait off because I'm feeling like I possibly might be able to get it cheaper. Because this is what I usually say, and I know everybody says different from what I say. You can always, in the future per se, if you're afforded to, you can always be able to adjust your rate, but you might not be able to adjust the price once you buy it, right? So if I buy something for, let's say, $500,000, my interest rate is 7%, let's just say, but in the future, prices are going down per se, and it's at 450. I can't go back and say, hey, can you give me a discount off from my price? Like, I can't do how they used to do in the stores where they used to be like, oh, if you find it at Best Buy, we'll price match you at Walmart or wherever. I don't know. Like, you can't do that with the housing market, right? So I always tell people, make sure you're doing your the proper due diligence to make sure you want to get in at the price that you can afford, because it comes down to, can you afford this? And as times adjust, as things go up, will you still feel secure in the purchase of that property? Will you still be able to hang in there with interest rates, with property taxes going up, home insurance going up? Make sure you're comfortable. If you're in an HOA community, your HOA will possibly go up. Just make sure you can afford that balance. And as you get older, typically what happens in America most of the times, or with just in general with people, the years that you make most of your money is in your 30s and your 40s and like kind of in the beginning of your 50s. And then as you get older and you start to wind out of your job, you're on retirement, and your money might be different if you haven't and put it in like any investments in place or any type of things in place. So now you're living off of maybe Social Security, maybe some type of pension per se, and now you're on a fixed budget, right? So you might have a house that might be, let's say, fully paid off or whatever, but your taxes are going up, your home insurance is going up, and that fixed income cannot afford you to pay X, Y, and Z month to month. So you just want to be mindful of what you do as far as putting yourself in a position to be able to win as you get older and not have to worry about all the craziness as time goes on and things adjust. With the amount of money they're asking for those row homes, with the economy declining, those homes should sit for a while. Yeah, they probably will sit for a while. I'm definitely looking at them. They're building them right now, and they're going up right now. I know the Toll Brothers one down the street from me. They are sitting longer. They're every day I wake up, I'm getting an email from them because once you go over there, I put my name on the list, right? So I'm getting email from them offering incentives, these interest rates, these buy downs. They're still trying to offer incentives. And we're going to get into that too, because it's builders now that are cutting prices outside of the incentives, because they're like, hey, we're slowly, like, our sales are going down, they're slowing, and we need to move this inventory. Like the builders, they're business people. They're not in the business of holding inventory. They're not in the business of trying to sit on a property emotionally attached to it, right? They're like, hey, we're building these things, we got to move these things, so we got to cut the price, and we got to offer incentives, and we got to push down interest rates, do buy downs. We have to do whatever we need to do to get those prices down. So this is the perfect time, if you, again, put yourself in a good position, and if you're ready, is based on you to go in there and start and negotiate. Even I always tell people everything's negotiable, so negotiate everything in life if you can, negotiate. People negotiate all the time in their relationships between, other people, family members, friends, negotiate. Business is negotiating too. This month's report highlights the growing number of markets seeing meaningful price declines. In July, year over year, list prices fell 33 of the nation's 50 largest metros, up from 29 a year ago, with the greatest declines concentrated in the southern and the western markets such as Miami, Austin, Los Angeles. And in 19 of the 33 metros, prices have now fallen below 2022 peak levels, a clear signal that a post-pandemic housing correction is playing out in some markets. So again, as they're always mentioning these big, vast markets like Los Angeles and all that stuff. But again, I'm in the Metro Atlanta market in Georgia, and I'm seeing some of these prices, these declines, these people starting to pull back, these sellers. And again, I'm going to show you guys some of the price declines that we're seeing, and these are nice cuts. These are not baby cuts. Like, these are nice price cuts. It's still unaffordable, but it's showing that people are adjusting and coming to their senses. They're like, if they want to sell, they're going to have to adjust the prices, unfortunately. Buyers gain options. Well, I don't want to say unfortunately, because it's great for people trying to get into homeownership. Of course, it might be bad for, say, the sellers, because I had this conversation with a realtor colleague of mine. He might be on here tonight watching. In regards to, we had this whole conversation where I'm like, prices need to decline. And he was like, well, prices decline, then it's stripping my equity. And now I'm going to have less equity than before, per se, right? And I'm like, well, if you bought the house, let's say at $200,000, and it's already blown up, and people are selling in your neighborhood for $600,000, then it doesn't matter if you come down to $400,000, you'll still have equity, going forward. But he's like, no, I want all my equity. So again, you have people that are very selfish and stingy, and it's almost like American greed, right? It's like, how much can you take, right? Of course, I get it. You might want as much as you can get, but again, like I tell people, that liquidity, that money per se, is locked in the house. So until you sell that house, you can't get the money out of it anyway. So if the house is overpriced and eventually it comes down to the price point in which a buyer wants to pay for it, then you'll be able to unlock that equity per se, that cash, that liquidity, once you get to the closing table and it gets wired into your bank account. So it doesn't matter, even if you want to be able to save per se your, the equity in your house that you might have gotten through these inflated pandemic fairy dust prices. At the end of the day, it's whatever a buyer is willing to pay for it. So even if you don't want to push it down, it's eventually going to have to come down. And it doesn't even take you to make it come down. It can take 3 or 4 other houses in your subdivision to come down, and the appraisers appraise it accordingly. And now your house is not even valued at that no more. So we got to be very mindful of what we do, and be mindful too of the future people, because of our future generations, whether even if it's a young generation, even if it's the older generation, because as people get older, if you're in these big gargantuous houses, you want to possibly downsize if you don't have a bedroom on the main level. And now we got to make sure that our older generation is put in place, in the right position in regards to being able to afford to live throughout the rest of their life on their fixed incomes. And then we got to make sure our future generations that are coming in, the Gen Zers, the Alphas, they're able to purchase said properties in the future. So we got to be mindful. I feel like a lot of people are kind of caught in this greed mentality. And I understand people might say, oh, that's how it's supposed to be, the appreciation, but I'm like, but if you really look back into times in regards to appreciation among real estate doesn't appreciate as much as it did during pandemic, 60%, 40%, 30%, and in Atlanta, 100%, 200% in some places. So it's like, typically it's about 3 to 5%, or maybe sometimes you might get a 7% appreciation. So if it grows accordingly, if you bought a house for $200,000, if you go to sell it the next couple of years, it might only be worth $230,000, not $500,000, So I just tell people, just be mindful. Croy said, Clark, it's hard to see why builders would build without doing the research in the area. I would think the builders know what the area commands. Yeah, so a lot of these builders, especially down south, I don't know about the other areas, but I know down in this metro Atlanta area, a lot of these builders bought these pieces of land about like 3 to 4 years ago per se. And so when they bought the land, around that time frame, it was screaming that the inventory was low and that they needed to build, they needed more inventory, and then interest rates were lower, so people were buying stuff, getting better interest on the land, on the loans for the land, and to be able to build. And now some of these projects are being coming to, I guess you should say, I don't want to say, I guess it is fruition, right? Some of these projects are coming due per se, and now these homes are going up and the interest rates have soared. But some of these builders actually bought the interest rates down during that period when they might have bought the land and all those things like that. So with them doing that, they're able to kind of fix that interest rate cost into those the loans for the buyers. And some of these builders down here in my area too, some of them are their own financiers, so they're financing their own loans. So it just depends on what builder you have. Excuse me. Of course, you have the builders that are partnering with outside lenders, and they're buying the rates down if they haven't bought it. Those are typically the smaller builders, but the bigger builders kind of forecast going forward, just in case interest rates flip, which they did. They kind of bought some of that though, that they put money towards buying that rate down at that time per se. But yeah, so they, at that time they knew that the area, I guess, quote unquote, commanded such. But now, because of the unaffordable prices, the interest rates, the uncertainty, the stability factor in America, people are like, ooh, I don't want to do anything right now, So it's getting very, very interesting out here. That's what I'm telling. As you're a seller, please price your house correctly. If you wanted to sell, and even if you price it correctly, it's no, like, we don't know if it will sell. You might price it correctly for what the market is forecasting at that moment, and then other houses might come on the market, because that happened to me before. I had a seller, we priced the house correctly, and then 3 other houses in the subdivision came on the market and they undercutted the price. And so he, in turn, we sat down, we had a conversation, and he decided that he wanted to adjust to what they had did as far as when it came to being more of a comparable. But yeah, you'll have people that come on and they'll undercut it. And typically some of the undercut might either be somebody needs to quickly relocate or get out their house. Maybe, it's one of them was an estate sale, so the person passed away. The family just wanted to unload it quickly, so they adjusted accordingly and went low. Sometimes you might have investors who might have purchased, these big institutional investors that purchase down here in the metro Atlanta area. They're trying to get out too. They're trying to stop bleeding per se, money from paying these monthly taxes, because down here in Georgia, and I'm not sure how it works in Omaha with David, if you buy down here as an investor, your property taxes are higher than if you're a homeowner occupier, because once you're a homeowner occupier down here in the county, you can file for your homestead exemption, and an investor cannot file for those exemptions. So with that being the case, your taxes as an investor are higher, and so you're paying higher taxes. And so that's typically why you'll see down here in this Metro Atlanta area where people be like, well, why is it so expensive to rent these single family houses? Because the reason that it's expensive is because their taxes are higher. So they're trying to offset the difference where they can hopefully either pocket a little cash, get a return on their investment on a monthly basis, or they want to just possibly break even, And so I don't know if that makes sense. Let me know if that makes sense to you guys, because I just say stuff and I don't know if I'm making sense. So let me know. Home buyers found more options in July as the number of actively listed homes rose, as we said, 24.8%. That's kind of moved down here. So this is kind of showing the active listing count. So it's showing it based off of 2017. So in 2017, this is how much when it came to active inventory listed on the market. This is showing how 2017, 2018, 2019, it was all, a lot of active per se inventory. And then during the pandemic, these are the pandemic years, the inventory was low. And then 2025, we're rising year over year. So that's where it's 28% is at. Let's get down here some more. We can kind of go through these. It says right here, when inventory was up, buyer activity was more subdued. Pending homes sales listings under contract fell 3% year over year, about double the 1.6% drop in June. So it's telling you like the pending listing count year over year. It shows you in 2020 how it was, the pendings was all up, and then they fell in 2023, 2024, and then they went back up a little bit. It was a little bit of hope around here, and then they went down again in 2025. So again, it's the instability, uncertainty. People, the numbers are all over the place. David said, we all pay high taxes here. Oh, Lord. Only fully disabled vets and the elderly can file for a homestead exemption. Wow, okay. Yeah, so in Georgia, depending on the county that you're in, if you're a homeowner occupier, you can file for homestead exemptions. And there's actually a couple people when I went into the, like I tell you guys, every day I check the MLS, and I also check neighborhoods, and I just look at people's property taxes. Again, I guess I'm just a nosy realtor, but I do that purposely just to make sure if you're in a county that allows for you to get homestead exemption, and if you're living in the property, I just want to call you and remind you and say, hey, I see that you didn't file your homestead. This could help free some of your taxes to save you something in the long run come at the end of the year when you're reassessed, to kind of cut down some costs. And typically some of the homesteads, it'll save about $700, $800 in property taxes. So I just will go into the MLS, search the public records, search the subdivisions, the neighborhoods, and just call these homeowners if they don't have a homestead exemption and if they're living in it. If they're an investor, I don't call them because obviously they can't qualify for such. But if you're a homeowner, I want you to try to put yourself in a good situation, because again, these property taxes are going up down here. And I'm saying that I'm hoping this year, I'm not sure if it will happen, but I feel like we might see a little softening in the property taxes down here. When I was kind of looking in the system, looking at the estimated home property taxes and everything, and the millage rates and all those stuff, and adding that together, I was looking at that, and I was, doing the math to see how much it could possibly be. And I know the one seller that I was helping, it looked like her taxes will probably decrease about $158 or something like that. So yeah, so I was just in there looking, being nosy, like I'm always being nosy. It says where the housing market inventory is growing fast. So this is showing where it is kind of growing fast at, as far as inventory, meaning more houses popping up on the market. The West 32.5%, the South 25.4%, Midwest 18.1%, Northeast 15.1%. It says the regional active listing count. So it's showing you how many listings are, what's the active listing count on the market currently. The Midwest is in orange, the West is in purple, the South is in this teal type of color, and the Northeast is in red. So as you can see, again, the Northeast has less active inventory. However, it does have active listings on the market. But the West has the most, and then you get the southern states, and then you get that Midwest and all those states. So it's showing you where that inventory is at. And then we'll go down here. So we can talk about more of the prices kind of softening and coming down. I know you guys are saying, well, your thumbnail said values are plunging. And again, it's relative to your market. So, excuse me. So if you guys are seeing anything and any prices in your market that are shifting, that are softening, let me know in the comments, like in the live chat over here. And if you are watching this video on a replay, put it below in the comments. Let's have a discussion. And again, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like, hit that notification bell. I gotta remember to say that because I was told that I need to say that more often. But I just love having a conversation with everybody, so I always forget to say that. Let's go down here. This is talking about new listing growth and more. Let's go down here. We want to go in regards to listings going down right here. And focus markets with the greatest price declines. Overall, the past several months, Realtor.com monthly housing reports tracked unusual large regional divergence in the U.S. housing market. The national market is cooling overall, but the pace and severity of the slowdown varied widely across regions. On the inventory side, metros in the Northeast, which we already know, let's kind of move down here some more. And right here, these are the top. So we'll just do this right here. It says the top 10 markets with the greatest year-over-year list price declines as listed below. I was so surprised when I read this that Atlanta is not on these lists. And I'm like, Atlanta, we're like, please, I need people to really, and again, I get it that, you know, these people, they're taking it based off of stats that they're seeing online, things that they're reading maybe from the National Association reports and all this like data that they're kind of taking. But when you, and they're not physically on the ground. So I'm like, okay. But anyway, it says the medium list price. So it says Austin is number one. Medium list price in July 2025 was $510.95. It's since changed, negative 0.9 down, and then from 2022, negative 14.8. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. I don't know why. Like I said, my voice. Miami is showing you this. It's showing you the difference. Down negative 4, 2022, 17. Chicago, down negative 4. Down right here was up. It's more than what it was in 2022 by 7%. Los Angeles, negative 0.4. It's actually more than what it was in 22, which is crazy. Denver is negative 4, negative 7, so it's down. Phoenix, negative 3.8. Sacramento never put negative 0.8, and it says negative 0.08. Nashville, negative 3.5. And so it's showing like how it's in 2022, it's less than what it was in 2022 and in 2024. But right here, this is actually more. This is more. And then this right here, these Minneapolis, and Cincinnati is actually more than 2024. Like 2022, I'm sorry. So again, like I said, it's relative to the market that you're in, as you can see. Corey said, wow, that's nice of you. You are definitely a good agent. Seems like that would take a lot of time and phone calls. Yes, it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of phone calls. Everybody's not receptive to what I'm doing because I think people think because I'm just genuinely trying to help people, and I love to have conversations about real estate just to help people in regards to data, market trends. I'm calling people, and some people are like, I don't want to hear it, and they hang up, and I'm like, well, I'm not trying to sell you. I don't want to sell you out of your house. I'm not trying to get you to buy a house. I'm just trying to see if I can put you in a good position and see maybe why you didn't file your homestead. Because you might say, well, I didn't filed it because of X, Y, and Z. And I say, oh, okay, it makes sense. I just wanted to check just to make sure. Just like with the clients that I've helped, I've tell them once they buy a house, if they miss that period, because down here in Georgia, it's from January 1st to April 1st, you can file that homestead. And if you miss it, you got to wait till the next year. So, and I'm actually going to do that with my friend who bought a new construction. I'm going to check it back in with them because I know they didn't file their homestead when their agent helped them buy a house down here about a year or two ago. So I'm going to make sure he gets that done when January comes around next year because they need to get that done. But needless to say, it's just to help people out. But you know, everybody thinks that you're trying to sell them, and I'm like, I'm honestly really not trying to sell you, but okay. David said, it is odd. Prices were actually up last month. However, July closings are May's contracts. I expect prices will soften later this fall. Yeah, exactly, David. Like you're saying, like a lot of people don't realize that all this data, all these stats is a month behind because it typically takes about a month to close out on real estate. Excuse me. So I usually have my water here and I didn't bring it. But yeah, so these stats are like a month behind, maybe a month and a half behind. But yeah, so I guess we'll have to continue. And this is the reason why every time we come on here, if you watch, this channel, any other real estate channel, David's channel, let's say Jen's channel, Jackie's channel, Christina's channel, it might seem like we're always kind of talking about the same topic or the same things. It's just because the data is a month behind, maybe a month and a half behind. And so it's trending accordingly. And so that's why it seems like the topics are similar, but in reality, we're a month behind. So that's why it seems like we're talking about the same thing over and over again. But where prices are falling fast today is not necessarily where they have fallen most since the national market peak in 2022. It says, for example, the median list price in Los Angeles, which we saw above, is down 4.2% from last year, but still above 18% from July 22, like we had mentioned above in that chart. And so it says the chart below highlights the split across the nation's top 50 metros year-over-year list. Prices in blue are down in 33 of the top 50 metros, yet just 19 of the top 50 have seen prices fall below their July 2022 levels in red. All 19 are located in the South and the West, of course. And so this is kind of showing you the data in regards to what we kind of read up there already at the top. It's showing you the year-over-year change, and then since July 2022, the decline in the prices. So as it's showing, some of them are still like close by, so it's not that far off in those prices. And I don't even know if Atlanta was on here either. Was Atlanta on here? South region average. No. Oh, yeah, right here. Here we are. Sorry. So negative 4.5%, and now it says year-over-year change 1.2%. So it's showing you that there is declining happening, there is softening happening. So we're going to get out of that because I don't want to take too much of the time here. Let's jump into in regards to the home builders. So like I said earlier, home builders are also slashing prices. They're trying to do what they can. As we all know, they were offering incentives, and now some of them are slashing prices. So if you guys don't know, KB Home Builder, it says a major builder, KB Homes, drops prices in underperforming markets. Builder is not alone in experiencing housing challenges. It says KP imposed 2 minor price increases due to tariffs, but opted to drop prices in some underperforming markets. The Los Angeles-based builder reported in its second quarter earnings call Monday night. President Robert McGivney said there were significant headwinds in Sacramento and Seattle, requiring more pronounced price decreases. The average selling price still increased on the West Coast and in the Southwest, with an average price decline year over year in the Central U.S. and the Southeast. So again, as we were talking earlier, how home prices are relative to where you live at, the area, the location. And as you can see here, this home builder is saying, okay, we went up with prices because of tariffs. However, in certain areas, we saw that things were underperforming. And again, these home builders are they're not attached emotionally. These are businessmen. So they're all about trying to get these, this inventory, this stuff off of their books. They're trying to move it. So this home builder is like, hey, we need to drop prices in this area. We need to cut because that person cannot afford to buy said property, or the properties are sitting longer. And again, we all know that each state has different income situations, and we know that the incomes haven't even increased since I don't know what so many years, as far as the average salaries, the hourly salaries, and like I was mentioning to somebody, and I think we might have already said this before on the last live, that if home prices have jumped 100 to 200%, then but the person's salary or the income hasn't jumped 100 or 200%. So you have these home prices outpacing the income in which people are making, and it's not shifting. So something has to break somewhere, right? It's almost like a levee and a bunch of water is trying to get through, and it needs to break. So something has to break So, and it looks like the home prices are going to be a little bit of that something because they are shifting down. One big challenge for KB Home is the increased resale inventory in Austin, Texas, Colorado, Jacksonville, Florida. It says McGivney said the increase in existing home supply has started putting pressure on pricing as buyers have more choices. It says KB is not alone. In a survey from the National Association of Home Builders, 30% of builders said they dropped home prices by an average of 5%. So home builders have dropped prices, and people might say 5%, that's nothing. Yeah, it's not, it might not be a big drop, but it is, it could be a drop. So let's just say I'm gonna put it in, I'm gonna do math on my phone real quick for you guys. And like I said, it might not be a big drop to some people, but if they're dropping prices, they're giving incentives, if they're buying interest rates down, and just all one package, it could make sense to you as a buyer, right? So let's say if the property is $350,000 times that by 5%, so that's taking basically $17,500 off of that purchase price. And then maybe, you know, like I said, they might give you $30,000 in incentives. They might buy the interest rate down to 3% because these builders are doing that. So they're thinking if they take some money off the price and then they package it with incentives for additional money and then also the interest rate buy down, you'll possibly be able to be at a softer amount when it comes to that monthly mortgage. How much of a difference will it be? I don't know. Again, I always tell people one thing that I say with real estate is definitely a math situation. So you got to do your math. You got to do your math, whether you're selling your house, whether you're buying a house, you got to do the math. Just don't say, hey, I'm going to, you know, this real estate agent and I'm selling my house and you put the price on my house, you know, like, yeah, as realtors, we do comparables. We tell you what the market is saying, how houses are performing, what's happening. But ultimately, you need to sit down with that agent. You need to do a seller to net sheet and you need to say, hey, this is what the market is indicating. If we price it here at market value per se, how much would you make this way? And if you need to get out of the home and if you need money to go buy another home and vice versa. And it also maybe might not make sense. Once you do the math, you might say, well, I can't, that's not going to be affordable to me. I got to stay here until something happens. It is what it is. KB posted a 10% revenue decrease year over year. So they're saying that they're losing revenue, which is not something that a builder wants to do, during a conference call, citing over-year decline in consumer confidence and unfavorable economic conditions. Affordability challenges have persisted, compounded by the variability in mortgage interest rates, which remain elevated, as well as a macroeconomic and geopolitical uncertainties. So again, as we talked about earlier, the mortgage rates are still at that 6%. It dipped a little bit. It was closer to 7. Now we're kind of in the, you know, the mid 6s per se. Depending, again, that combines a lot of factors, right? Debt to income ratio for you as a person, credit score, different variables factor into how your interest rate could kind of present itself when you get your pre-approval or you talk to a lender. And then typically when it comes to loan options, the lender might say, hey, it might not make sense to go conventional. It might make sense to go FHA because typically FHA interest rates are lower than conventional interest rates. So, you know, it might behoove you to sit down, have these conversations. Again, it has to make sense to you. It says to push the home builder to reevaluate its fiscal predictions for the year, dropping total revenue projections from a maximum of $7 billion to $6.5 billion. It's like, well, you ain't really do much but drop it, you know, just a little bit of $0.5 billion. So, you know, to us, we like, well, shoot, dang, you still rich. The builder constructed 3,120 homes in the second quarter, which was on par with its expected, I don't know if I'm gonna say the cadence. I don't know if I say it right, but 11% fewer than at the last time, at this time last year. It says KB builds single-family detached and attached homes in 10 states for first-time and move-up home buyers. So the first-time home buyers are not buying like they used to buy. So I can definitely see why they are having pressure when it comes to them selling their homes if they focus on that first-time home buyer. Public home builders across the country have reported a softening due to several economic factors, a significant one being stagnant and higher than desired mortgage rates. And so this kind of goes into the same thing we already talked about, so we don't want to keep talking about that. I was going to talk a little bit about mapping out these different cities in the U.S. Treasury yield per se, and what they're kind of thinking might happen in regards to what's going on. But let's get real quick into mortgage rates, and then I'm going to show you guys some pricing reductions going on around what that kind of can pull up in our MLS. So in Georgia, our MLS services multiple MLSs. Like I can get information in Florida and different areas. So I don't know if I know some of the realtors here don't realize that we have access to some of these MLSs, because when I be in the system looking, I'll be looking at different states. They're like, how do you get to that state? I'm like, we have access to the MLS. They're like, oh, I didn't know. I'm like, yeah, I know. So I tell my dad on the phone, I'm like, it's so funny that a lot of my colleagues in my office, they call me, they're like, Devon, they're like, can you help me with this? Or what do you think about this or whatever? And I'm like, it's always great to have a conversation with them. I think because they know that I'm always kind of looking at everything. So they're like, we know he gonna have, know something or have a resource for something or different things like that. So it says, when will mortgage rates go down? Rates are still higher than this time last year. So everybody is saying the same thing. When will mortgage rates go down? It says cause for lower mortgage rates have been the battle cry for the decade among aspiring homeowners and those looking to refinance for a good reason. According to Freddie Mac, the 52-week average for the 30-year fixed mortgage rate is well over 6.5%. Mortgage interest rates finally made a noticeable dip this week, though, current interest rates for a 30-year fixed mortgage are 6.63%, a decrease of just 9 basis points since last week. The average rate for a 15-year rate mortgage is down 10 basis points to 5.75%. These decreases could leave potential home buyers wondering, is this a good time to buy a house? So as we all know, people are still asking, what is happening with the mortgage rates? And this is what's making, I feel like this is what is, as we all know, through these conversations, through these talks that we have on these lives, and through, I'm not an economist per se, but I watch a lot of things around housing and what's going on. And so a lot of it has to do with people sitting on the side. Of course, the uncertainty in regards to these tariffs, the job stability, but also people are like, I still cannot afford to buy a house at this interest rate that's at this price. So because of that, the interest rates are having an impact too, as far as reducing the housing price. And so, like I tell people, again, doing the math, and I know some home sellers might not want to do this, but it might say, okay, put yourself in this situation and do the math. And this is what I was telling one of the sellers I was working with. It's a new construction community up the street. They're selling, let's say, they're selling for like $350, right? You're trying to sell for $450. But up the street, the $350 is also has an interest rate. They're buying down the interest rate. So now it might put that person, that home buyer, in a $2,000, let's say $2,200 mortgage, monthly mortgage, compared to someone up the street. And this is all hypothetical. This is just numbers that I'm just spewing out the top of my head. So my math is probably off. But let's say that you're selling your house for, like I said, $450, and you're not buying down the interest rate. You're not offering those type of incentives, so their interest rate might be at a 6.6 or whatever. So now their monthly mortgage with you might be $3,000 something, about $3,200 instead of $2,200. So I tell people, like, you got to do the math and see what might be causing people not to buy. So again, if you have to shift and soften the price to kind of make it closer to those affordable monthly mortgage numbers for that buyer to be able to buy, you might have to do so and say, hey, or offer the incentive, or do something. That's the reason why a lot of these builders, that's why they're doing such, because again, they're trying to unload the inventory. So they're cutting prices now. They've been given the incentive. They've been buying down the interest rates. So you got to be creative. You got to understand what's happening in this market, and really, 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 and really, really just have a conversation. And don't be scared to talk to a real estate professional. Every real estate professional is not trying to sell you into something. They're really trying to educate you and make sure you're making the right and sound and informative decision. And if you feel like they're trying to sell you, then just say no, thank you, and keep moving. But But yeah, so this is kind of showing how, like I tell people, there have been times in which home appreciation has depreciated. There have been markets in which the housing prices have fell. So if you're buying a house and you're putting yourself in a situation where you just see like, oh, I'm just going to buy this house for 2 or 3 years, it might not be smart to do that, because if you're buying a house, typically real estate is a long-term gain. So it's, it's not really a short-term gain, unless, if you're an investor and you're doing a fix and flip, then that's like a short-term thing, right? They're buying, fixing, flipping, selling it. But ultimately the goal is to sell it to the person who's going to buy it as a long-term gain. So no problem, David. No problem. No problem. Have a wonderful night. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate your time. So yeah, so right here, this kind of shows how the real estate market has throughout the years. It's showing like in 2000, so it's not going all the way back in this chart, but it shows in 2000 how the home appreciation was up, and then it fell in 2006, like on that onset of the great financial crash, and then it went up a little bit, and then it fell all the way down again. So it took the house, if the houses went from worth 170,000, let's say right here, then they dived all the way down to dang near 40, 30,000 in some places, some areas. And then it peaked back up a little bit, and then it dropped again, and then it peaked back up again. And so right here, it shows like the timeline of major housing crashes in the US. It shows like 1837, the panic of 1837. 1873, you had the stock market crisis. 1929, you had the Great Depression caused by the Wall Street crash, and then in 2008, you had that great financial crash caused by the lending purpose and the housing bubble, and it crashed. So you're showing those different times in the period where things had crashed and prices were adjusted down lower. And typically, and right here, it kind of breaks down each period. We're not going to get too far into it, but it says in 1837, the 100 years between 1800 and 1900 were trademarked by several peaks and busts in the real estate market, reminiscent of the markets today. The most predominant early example took place in 1837, when the stock market peaked and launched a depression that would last until 1840s, known as the Panic of 1837. This financial crash lasted until the late 1840s. So almost about, it seems like when I was kind of looking into this, it took about 7 to 10 years for stuff to kind of recorrect. So when things kind of softened, prices kind of dipped. In real estate, it took a little time. So again, I tell people, typically, does real estate appreciate? Yes, but we do have markets in which they depreciate, which it does depreciate, and that's what we're kind of seeing now. So if you bought, and I've talked to home sellers who bought in 2021, 2022, 2023, even 2024, and they're trying to sell now, and you cannot get out because you bought too high at the market, and now the prices are adjusting. So really, you're getting close to being underwater. So underwater is typically means when your mortgage, what is it? When your house, when you owe more in your mortgage than what your house is worth. So if your mortgage, say if your mortgage is $350 and now everything in your area is selling for $320, you're underwater. And so that's what we're kind of seeing in this Metro Atlanta area. And we're seeing even like investors down here where they started doing some work on it. And I don't know if their construction loans came due, because they might take out a 1-year construction loan for financing purposes. They came due, and then I'm seeing like them getting notices of foreclosure. They're getting less pendants, like all these things happening because they're just kind of leaving and abandoning the stuff now. And then they're stopping in the midst of trying to fix stuff up, and now they're trying to sell and try to make their money back to pay off their loans or whatever that they might have. That there might be financing that's coming due, and they can't get it done. And so some of them are just letting the properties kind of go into foreclosure. And then some of them at the last minute will pay on such things to kind of get out of it, or they might call the lender and adjust things. But that's what I'm noticing. I'm not saying it's like a world war situation happening down here in Atlanta, but in the Metro Atlanta area. But I'm noticing that. So I don't know if you guys that are kind of tuning in right now, if you're noticing that in your area, are you seeing anything kind of going into foreclosure? Are you seeing any people trying to sell that might have bought a year or two ago? They can't afford to. Are you seeing property taxes going up, home insurance going up? Let me know inside the live chat. And if you're watching this on a replay, comment below. Let me know what you're kind of seeing out there in your area. Because again, I'm in the Metro Atlanta area, so I'm not all in America. But again, you have the 1873 stock market crash. So it says right here, in regards to that, the stock market kind of created that. And you have the Great Depression from 1929 to 1939. And it says as a result of the crash, prices fell up to 67%, with plummeting in value and lending decreasing as well. Such a decade before real estate market had been booming, with markets like Manhattan and New York representing almost 10% of all real estate wealth in the country. So, yeah, I don't want to scare nobody, but we do have times of regression. And then we have the housing bubble, right? So you just have to be very mindful, when it comes to doing your, if you are purchasing right now, just be mindful. If you are a seller right now, adjust accordingly to your market. David said, not yet, taxes and insurance is up. Okay, so taxes and insurance. Yeah, these taxes and insurance is starting to kill people. I had a conversation with a young lady just on the phone, and she's in real estate. She was telling me how she talked to somebody and they paid their house off in full, but the taxes are kind of getting them now. Let's look at this. So this is a house down here, a wonderful agent down here. She actually built the house. She bought the land. For this house right here. She built it. And then she is having trouble getting it sold. So this is the house. We'll let you see it. We'll go through it real quick, and then we'll get into how much she. So it's a beautiful house, single family house, new construction. I believe it's 4 bedrooms. 4 bedrooms. A bedroom on the main level, full bathroom on the main level. Backyard, not as big as a backyard space. Upstairs, you have 1 bedroom with a bathroom that opens up into the room, but also into the hallway. So it's basically a general bathroom stairs for the additional bedrooms. That was 2 bedrooms, and then you have this primary bedroom with this this ensuite bathroom, and then outside the deck. But needless to say, so this is an area in Metro Atlanta area now. It's called the Pittsburgh area, and a lot of investors started trying to go over there, trying to revitalize the area, trying to create a spark per se, because the properties were a little cheaper over there. So they were trying to buy them, fix them, demolish houses, build houses, do different things over there. But however, in this situation with this person, this house is on a busy street. So with this house being on a busy street, it doesn't have one thing I noticed about this house, it doesn't have anywhere for you to park your car outside of on the street. And a lot of people don't want to pay close to $500,000 for a house to park their car on the street. So I think that's one of her big things that's kind of happening right there, because this area, you need to have a parking space, and there's nowhere to, let me see, I think she showed it right here. There's nowhere really to park your car at besides on the street. Sorry guys, I'm doing this quick because we went through it already, if you're just jumping on now. But there's nowhere. You see how these houses right here, this house, they kind of made themselves like a little place here to park. This house made themselves a place here to park. And so this area, when I talked to her, she said she was going to make this into the parking pad. However, when I pulled up to the house to view it about 1.5 years ago, because it's been on the market for a while, I was like, I'm not sure if she'll be able to do that, because there was some type of drainage looking system that was kind of poking up out of the ground. So I was like, I don't think this is going to be feasible. But so needless again, you see how this is a busy street. And so all you can do is parallel park here, and all these other houses kind of have spots where they can pull their car up on these parking pads, and she doesn't have that accessibility. So now let's see. I'm going to show you guys how much she listed the house for and where we're at today as far as the price of the house. Oh crap. It signed me out of my thing. Hold on 1 second, you guys. Let me sign myself back in. I don't know why this computer does this. It'll sign you out. Well, not this computer, this system. It does that. It'll sign you out. Sorry, y'all. I'm just getting back into the listing real quick. I'm like, could y'all see the listing when I was showing it? I don't even know if y'all could see the listing. I don't even know. I feel like I was talking. Did I show y'all the listing when I was going through the pictures? I don't even think I did. My bad. Sorry, I don't even think that I showed you the pictures, did I? Okay, so this is the house. Did you guys see the pictures of the house, the inside of the house? Let me know yes or no if you can. Because I don't know if you even saw the pictures of the house. But needless to say, let's go to how much the house was priced at. Because I don't even know. I'm thinking about it now. I'm like, I don't think y'all can see the pictures of the house. Sorry. We're not going to be too long. Let me stop sharing this real quick. And let me share this. I just thought about that. I was like, I don't think y'all could even see the daggone pictures of the house. Or even what I was talking about. Well, nobody said anything, so I'm guessing y'all could see it. If not, if you want to see the house, the address is there, so you guys can go to Zillow and click on the pictures there. So, so when she bought this, it was a piece of land. Bought the land for about what, $59,000? I think she bought the land for. No, 69. Closed at $69,000. And then she built the house on it and listed it for $569. So $569, withdrew it, wasn't getting it sold. $519, couldn't get it sold, it expired $499. Tried to do $485, withdrew, went down $474. Now went from $474 to $409.99. So again, when it comes, he said, sorry, pictures there. Okay, you said yes, yes. Okay, good. I'm glad you guys can see it. I was over here just in my own world looking through the MLS. I'm like, can they see these pictures? I'm just talking and running my mouth. But as you guys can see, she had it originally listed at the $519. So let's do the math on my calculator real quick. Minus by $409,999. So that is a reduction of, did I do the math right? No, it originally came on market. Sorry, it came on the market higher than that. Sorry. Minus 409. So she has reduced the price $159,901 as of now. So again, the market is softening. People are reducing, and it has to do with certain situations, certain reasonings, and things are not selling, and investors and even home sellers are trying. They got to get their stuff sold. Let's go in real quick and let's see this Florida. This house, this property in Florida. I don't know, hopefully it has logged in. I'm almost done, you guys. I just want to show you some of the softening that's happening because we're talking a lot about it, but I want to kind of show you it. So again, like I said, I'm in the Metro Atlanta area, but I have access to, so we have access to the Florida MLS, some parts of Florida, not all of Florida's MLS, but more of like that southern, that west part of Florida. So right here, the house is actively priced. Let me see. You might not be able to see it, but let's see. So we're going to show. I don't want to show too much of the inside of the house. Well, it looks like the picture not coming up. It's probably because it locked me off the system again. Let me see. These are our MLS systems. They'll like knock you out the system right away. I don't know why it does this, but all right. Let's log in one more again. Sorry to take up your time, but I appreciate you guys being here tonight. David, also Clay West, my dad, everybody else who's watching. Appreciate you guys taking the time out. Don't want to get you on here too long, so we're going to wrap it up in a minute. I just wanted to show you this and then kind of go through a quick Zillow thing and wrap this up. But just letting you guys know, if you are in if you are currently in that housing market, have these conversations with your real estate professional. Okay, what we're going to do and just have, you know, that conversation. So we're going to insert a column. So this is what I like to do too. I put original list, hold on, right here, the original list price. Apply that. And so what it does, it kind of breaks down already to me how much the price is, and if there has been any adjustments made to that price. So this is what I do. I don't know if you guys can see it. Hold on, let me see. I can't see it. So I put that in, and so then that way I can kind of already see, so I don't have to keep going back and forth if there were any price reductions that have already occurred on this listing. So we'll go, the one I was looking at before closing me out was this one. Hold on, if the price is around to prices, okay. All right, so I was looking at, was it this one right? No, this one right here. So this one right, oh shoot, I think I changed the screen. Did it change me? Okay, he said, this is good. He said, this is good, no rush, no need to rush. Okay, well, I appreciate it, yeah. This is what I kind of do. So I'm just giving you guys some inside workings. I know David likes to do this too. I love when David does this and we kind of dip into his MLS and his market. Because I love to be able to see like that behind the scenes stuff. So I don't know if this is good for you guys, if you guys like to see this as well. So this right here, so this is what I do, right? I go into the system, like I showed you guys, I kind of put that original price list already in the MLS on the other side. So I already know that the price has been adjusted. This kind of helps me get through the process a little quicker, sifting stuff, because I know how to play around the system. Similar to David, he plays around the system a lot too. If you guys watch his lives, David Matney, he comes on Tuesdays at 8 o'clock Eastern time if you're on the East Coast. Please watch his lives. He's a wonderful realtor, and when he dips into his MLS and he plays in the systems, this is how you know you're working with a very good realtor, because they know how to look inside the system very well. Because some people might not know that they could do some of these type of things. But anyway, needless, first of all, I'm like, this person got 99 pictures. I'm like, oh my God. It's not a lot of pictures, but I'm not gonna go through all the pictures because no, I don't think nobody lives in this house. I think it might be empty because I don't want to invade people's personal space. So if it's lived in, I don't know if this one was lived in or empty, but it's a nice house. Yeah, it's lived in. So we're not gonna go through all the pictures. But it's a very nice house. And so it's in Florida. However, I go to history and I'm like, so the house was originally listed at six. Oh, I got all the people's names. Let me go up here and go the other way so I don't get everybody's name on it. I don't want to get flagged. I want the agents to flag me. Let's go to the back end. So the history. Let's go to the history on the back end so you don't see nobody's name. You just see the listing. All right, so they bought this as a piece of land. So this was land. It closed in 2020 for $1.1 million just for the land in Florida. I don't know. I'm not from Sarasota. I don't know nothing about, you know, the water, but this is what the house was like that was sitting on the property. And this was sitting on that property. And can y'all see the house? I don't know. Let me see. Let me make sure y'all can see. Oh, y'all can't even see the house. Let me click because I went into another. Stop sharing. I'm gonna show you guys what the house. It was a house sitting on the land. All right, there we go. What did David say? Sorry. It is neat to see the different home styles in the different parts of the country. Yes, it's so neat. And I tell people, like, that's the thing about, like you said, in the different parts of the country. When I go in the system and the ones that we have access to, it's so interesting when you go into Florida. And of course, we all know that Florida, like a lot of the homes might have like a tile inside of it. Or if you go to Arizona or certain states, they have like a tile ceramic on the flooring, and they might not have as much carpet as if you come to eastern states where you'll get more hardwood, more carpeting. Like down here in Georgia, we don't have that much as far as when it comes to like actual underground or in-ground basement building. We'll have the basements will be down here, but we'll have kind of a out where you can kind of get out on a lower level basement. So half of it is in the ground per se, and the other half allows you space to kind of walk out into the backyard. And then Georgia is not really big as far as creating homes with basements, but it's kind of becoming the trend now because a lot of people are moving from north, want that basement feature because up north, you'll have that basement feature. So every state, every area, like David said, is very neat. Different parts of the countries when you come to like the style, the architecture, the building of these homes. It's a very interesting thing. Hey, what's going on at MHOA? He said, was it a birthday dinner? Oh, okay. That's no problem. That's no problem. We still appreciate you coming on anytime. Next time you go to the birthday dinner, let us know, because I'm pretty sure it might end up being your birthday dinner, and we want to make sure we say happy birthday to you, because I feel like last time you came when you were at a birthday dinner too. And I'm like, one day you're going to come on, you're going to say, I was at my birthday dinner. MHOA said, there's even a difference between architecture in Minneapolis and St. Paul. Oh, wow, okay. So what's the architecture kind of looking like in Minneapolis compared to St. Paul? Because I've never been to either up in Minnesota. But yeah, so let me see. I don't know if I can see this. So they bought this house. The picture's not being. They bought this land with this house on it. So this was the house that was on the land. They bought it for $1.1 million. $1.1 million. And then they tore it down. So this was the house before. It's on the beach. It looks like, well, on the lake or looks like it kind of has, you can sit down here and have like this, has a boat slip right here. I don't know if this property came with a boat slip or not, but, and then they bought it for 1.2 as you got, it was listed at 1.2. They bought it for 1.8. They got no closing cost. And I think they closed on this with a conventional. I don't want to scroll down, but I think when I looked at it, they had a conventional and they that they closed on. So I don't know how much they put down, but it's telling me because it's conventional that they have a loan of some sort. They might not have one now, but at the time they had a loan. So now let's go back to what the house looks like now. They tore the house down and they put that house on there now that you guys saw. Let me go back here. What did MHOA say? He said St. Paul has more of an East Coast flavor. Okay. Yes, loved my basement when I rented my house. Not having a TH with a basement is going to be a deal breaker. Yeah. Yeah, when it comes to down certain parts of the country, you gotta make sure you understand that how they kind of build like the homes in the different areas, because like I said, especially down here in this Georgia metropolitan area or Georgia per se itself, if it does have a basement, either one, it might not be finished. And if it is finished, typically the homeowner might have bought the house with an unfinished basement and they finished it. But again, our basements down here are not actual underground per se, in-ground basements. They are half in-ground. Then the other side allows you to kind of go out into that backyard space. So you might have a door, you might have a garage that exits out into the front to kind of, get out that way. But typically that's how it looks down here in Georgia when it comes to like the quote unquote basements. I'll call them lower levels, but because people call them basements, because I'm like, again, being from up north, I know what a true in-ground basement looks like. But anyway, let's go here real quick and then we're going to get off here so I don't take too much of your time. So they bought it for that 1.1. It was a house there. They tore the house down. And now in 2025, they are selling it for, they had it listed at $6.75, $6,750,000, and they reduced it now in 38 days by basically $1,050,000. So now at $5,700,000. So that is where they are at now. This listing is a nice listing. Again, this is Florida, it's not Georgia. But it's just interesting being able to kind of, like I said, again, being able to get in the system, look at the different houses, see how things are adjusting. So again, this shows another sign that the home prices are slowly adjusting, they are softening, and it's trending down. So just be, mindful when you're buying, understand your buying power, understand where you might be buying at. Understand the math, make sure it's a situation that makes sense to you, and understand future gains in future times, I should say. So kind of, if you can, project as much as you can into the future, because even if you're buying a home and you want to sell it years down the line, you just want to kind of see. Of course, we don't know. We don't have a crystal ball. We don't know where anything's going to end up at, but just kind of do that math and just put yourself in a good space. And you might buy a house today, You might think you put yourself in a good space. Houses might continue to soften because we don't know where it'll stop at. Like, we don't know when it's going to stop, where it's going to stop at. Houses might continue to soften. We don't know. Houses might turn around and go back up. We don't know, you know. People are hoping that maybe interest rates will help kind of adjust those prices, but, you know, we don't know even if the interest rates will help the mortgage rates go down. It might either stay sturdy or it might go back up, you know. So we don't know anything. However, watch the U.S. 10-year Treasury yield if you can, understand to get more of an understanding of how that kind of moves, because that kind of corresponds with those mortgage rates. It kind of goes tandem with each other, and kind of look at that a little bit more. All right. So the last thing we're going to do before I get out of here, and I appreciate you guys sticking around, let me talk your heads off with this real estate stuff. As you can see, I will keep talking about it, but I'm not going to hold you too long. So there's another way in which you, if you want to kind of understand a little bit more of your housing market, Zillow kind of does a housing price index report per se of the states and what's happening. Again, this is data that they are accruing from their websites, from houses being closed, because they are aggregating data, right? They're pulling from our tax records, they're seeing how much houses are closing for, they're updating it on their system, and then they're taking the data and they're aggregating it accordingly to give you these numbers. And these are, so you can type in your different cities. So if you guys have any cities you want me to type in real quick, let me know. But I'm gonna swing you through Atlanta real quick. So there are some realtors down here still claiming that we are up in regards to house prices being up, but again, they're taking the medium price, they're not taking that average price. So it depends on how you look at the data, but we're down as far as the home value. It says 4.4% year over year. It says the average Georgia home value is $402,035. Wait, $35,000. So I said $35. $35,000. Sorry, you guys. And it's down 4.4% year over year. Pendings goes to pending in around, typically takes 42 days. However, again, everything's local to the area in which you live in. I've seen areas and worked with a seller where it took about 70 days before we went pending. And in his market, took other homes about 120, 160 days. So depends. It's typical right here. It's a year over year down negative 4.4%. For inventory for sale from June 30th, 2025. Again, we're looking back. We're back a month, so because houses closed, we're a month behind with data. This is so 5,221 for sale on the market. There were 1,112 new listings that came on the market. Medium sell to list ratio price, so 0.99. So basically, it sold not at the 100. So instead of it being at, say if you price a house at $250,000, it didn't sell at $250,000. It didn't sell at 100%. It sold at 99% of that. So it sold at $245,000 or something. Said the medium sales price was $430. The medium list price was $364. Says 24% of sales over list price. 55% sales under list price. So that means that 55% of the sales that sold up until May 31st, 2025, was 55% of them was under the listed price that was put on the market, and the 42 in the pending days. So David said, he said, just for fun, Omaha. Okay, let's look at Omaha. Well, like Omaha. Yeah, so this is, I like looking at this. I just be like trying to figure out. Again, I don't never say, what happened? I don't ever say, of course, what's happening in totality in everybody's market, because I'm not on the ground level to see what's happening. But I just take some of the data that Zillow kind of puts out there. Corey, I said Omaha. I'll be in Omaha on Saturday. Yup. MHOA, he said you're on your road trip, right? To pick up there, you're gonna be there for about 2 hours, I think you said. Kind of get a car and just zoom off, right? So it says, David, so it says that your market in Omaha, your housing market, you're actually seeing your home value actually went up by 0.05% year over year. Omaha home value, the average Omaha home value is $290,780,000, up 0.5% year over year, goes to pending in around 7 days. So is that true, or are the prices up? And I know you said there's some slow happening over there, but it's saying that it typically, again, we know that it is a blanket statement across the whole Omaha metropolitan area. But it's saying this whole area right here with this map is taking you guys in Omaha about 7 days to kind of go under contract. It says June 23, you'll have 1,518 for sale inventory, 113 new listings popped up. You guys are selling at basically 100% of the listed price, close to or at 100% of your listed price. He said, sounds about right. Okay. Yeah, I'm like, this is Zillow's data. So, it's always interesting to hear about, if it's kind of accurate or on point according to what realtors are seeing on the ground over in their area. Let me go. I don't know if you can see this. It's saying 285,000 medium sales price, 318,000 medium list price, 32% of sales over list price, but it says 40.1% of sales under list price. So they're saying that people are reducing their price over in Omaha, and they're about 40% of them are selling under that list price. So it might not be a huge reduction, but it looks like you guys are seeing a softening and people are reducing that price. But yeah, so that's interesting. Let's do one more and then we'll get out of here for the night. Is there another city you guys want to see real quick? I'm going to put in Rochester, New York, because I know my friend and everybody, this is up north. So this is going to show you the difference between the north and the southern regions. So like David, you're more like that Midwest, North Midwest area. So you guys are seeing appreciation. And let's do another up north state. So like Rochester, New York is seeing appreciation. So like that's what I'm saying as far as like these home values and these home prices and real estate, according to your state and your area, it's appreciation happening up north, but in the south and in the west, we're seeing depreciation. Of course, things will soften accordingly, but things are still up. So it says Rochester is up 4.3% of the home value. It's taking around 8 days to pending. They're showing this whole Rochester area. So it's not that much inventory per se on the market, 711 for sale inventory, 487 new listings. It looks like they're selling above the medium listed price, 1.186. Medium sales price, 219. Medium list price, 201. 81.3% of sales over list price. So yeah, so they're selling, that's why you got that 1.186. They're selling above, and then it said below is only 13.8%. And it's 8 medium days dependent. So yeah, everywhere is interesting. So let's try one more. MHOA said Bellingham, Washington. Let's try this one out. And then we're going to be on our way. So yeah, so if you guys ever want to play around, you can go to Zillow Home Values and just look at this and kind of look at what they're doing and what's going on, just to play around. So it's saying Bellingham, Washington. MHOA, it says they're up as well as their home value, 2.5%, 680,000. It's taking about 9 days. It says goes to pending in around 9 days. So it's taking about 9 days. This is the map of that whole area per se. And it says it's not that much inventory that's listed over 383. So that's probably too why it's selling, why the prices are appreciating more and it's not lasting that long on the market, because it doesn't seem like you guys in that area have that much inventory. 177 new listings, and this, of course, is all according to Zillow. So it might be some inventory that's popping up, might be for sale by owner, might be other things happening. A lot of investors will do behind the scene off-market deals, so it might not pull up in Zillow's findings per se, it's not on their website. But this is what they're kind of pulling up due to like their website, the tax records was kind of aggregated onto their platform. It says above, so it's selling at 100% of that price, 646,917. Ooh, look, 725,000 for the medium list price. 41.5% of sales over list price, and then 37.9% of sales under list price. About 9 medium days to pending. So again, we are medium days to pending. So it's very interesting, but that's what's kind of happening around the world right now in different areas, different sectors. Yeah, so I appreciate you guys joining me tonight. We kind of ran over that hour slot. Again, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Come back on Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern time. I might have to change the time again because I know the football season is kind of kicking back in, and some people want to watch the football, and I'm kind of interfering with the football, so I don't know if I'll change the time or not. But as of right now, will always be on at 7 p.m. Eastern time. I hope to see you guys back here next Sunday. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like, hit that notification bell. And if you are watching this on a replay, put some comments below, have some conversation, and let me know how you are feeling in regards to this housing market. Thank you again, David, for tuning in tonight. Thank you, MHOA. Got my Clark fixed. Well, I appreciate you stopping by. Thank you, MHOA. Thank you, Corey West, as well, for stopping by. And of course, my dad, thanks for coming by as well. And everybody else who might have came in but didn't comment, I appreciate you being a part of the conversation tonight as well. And I will see you guys next Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern.